I'm Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm here with you to explore your intuition, the supernatural, and self-empowerment. This is Third Eyesight. Hello, my loves. I hope you're doing well this week. I want to give a couple really loud shout outs to some listeners, some viewers. So I want to give some big thank yous to Spotify listeners Veronica and Dee, who have been engaging with my episodes and commenting on Spotify episodes. And I just learned that there were comments on Spotify episodes because I'm never logging into my Spotify podcast account. I'm always using my podcast host, which is Buzzsprout. No ad, not sponsored. And so I just discovered that these comments were left. So Veronica and Dee, thank you for leaving your comments on my episodes in the past year and in the past few months. I really, really appreciate the engagement and your thoughts and your feedback. And on YouTube, I want to give a shout out to Megan, who goes by Megan K on YouTube. You've been commenting on my YouTube videos, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your input as well. So today, I would like to just address the elephant in the room. You know me to be a political person, but I don't like to bring politics into what we usually talk about on this podcast, because I have my strong beliefs and I have my political leanings, but I also believe that everyone, regardless of their politics, is worthy of healing and love. And not everyone likes to think that. Not everyone likes to hear someone say that. Because yes, even somebody who believes that I shouldn't exist on this planet because of how I am, who I am, I believe that they deserve healing and love too. And I'm the first one to say that. Does it mean that I would be friends with them? Does it mean that I would be in communion with them and invite them into my home? Absolutely not. But I believe we all have the same right to life and happiness. So the elephant in the room being just all the stuff that's going on in the world, all the news in the United States, around the globe, in Israel, in Gaza, in Iran. It's all very devastating, and it's very sad. And for the last couple days, I have found myself, and just to note, I'm recording this on the 14th of June. So I'm recording this way in advance. For the past couple days, I have been really thinking about the headlines, and it's gotten me feeling a little bit doomsday-y. Not that I believe it's the end of the world or apocalyptic. I don't mean to be that dramatic. I just feel like there's a lot going on and it's weighing on everybody, including myself. And as someone who is very privileged to not be in a war zone, who's privileged to be able to afford the food he can eat and the home he can live in and have a dog and etc., people he loves, people who love him surrounding him, it can feel like, well, what can I do? Or how do I digest the headlines without overwhelming myself, without feeling overwhelmed? And I want to bring this back to our work with spirit and our spirituality and how that plays a role in all of this. And I think there is no cookie cutter answer. I don't think there is one way that your spirituality should be interacting with all this stuff. The other day, there was an Instagram account. I think it's called Third Eye Kingdom, and they post beautiful, almost like tattoo style images, beautiful illustrations, and they posted something about how Jesus was a refugee and fled. His family fled a country, and people in the comments were like, I follow you because you're not political. Unfollow. Unfollow. I don't like you getting political. And politics is life. And politics can be driven by spirituality if done with intention. My goodness, there are people who have a spiritual belief system that gays go to hell, and therefore they vote for politicians that are anti gay marriage. So there's your proof. Spirituality can dictate politics, for better or for worse. And if you are somebody who sees God in every human being, who sees spirit in every human being, who believes that everyone is made of pieces of God, of the universe, of Source, then wouldn't that inspire, influence how you vote, how you care for your neighbors, how you vote for policies that will benefit or uplift your neighbors or your community? So I think there is room to be careful about how we as mediums, as spiritual workers, talk about our political beliefs and politics. I'm not out here saying fill in the blank side are a bunch of idiots, or if you believe in this, you're stupid. Because, first of all, that don't convince anybody that they're wrong if I believe they're wrong. How is that convincing? That's just my ego. That's my personal belief. Not the best way to go about it. But at the same time, if there is an injustice going on, people are going hungry, people are being restricted from accessing water, people are being killed for the crimes of a political group, just average people are being killed for that. Isn't it just and justified for us to say something about that? Especially if someone like myself believes that we are all God's children. So it's a fine balance, and it's a dance. And I do believe that right now we are in the midst of, there are a lot of egos at play on this planet, as there always has been. And I just want to quickly pause. That is one thing that gives me some sense of comfort right now, is that humanity has been through insane things in its history. Insane things. I was at a work event, and this gentleman was speaking, and he's a gentleman who grew up in the segregated South in the United States, and he went to a school that was a school for black children. And he experienced just how the funding for his school was way different than the funding for a school for white children. And this man said, what's giving me hope right now in this day and age is that we have been through worse before. And when he said that, I thought, oh, something about that triggered something in me. I thought, how could it be worse? But then I told my ego, just chill out, ego. Listen to what he's saying. And that's his perspective, and it's a valid perspective, because to many people, especially some communities in this country, particular communities, they have been through worse before, and they are still going through a lot right now, but maybe to some of them it has been worse before. So why am I bringing that up? Because I think about the times we as a world went through the Black Plague, we went through so much mass genocide in human history. And it's not to say that makes anything going on right now okay. It just gives me hope, and that we will go through it. And hopefully the difference this time is that we'll learn from it. Learn from it all. And that's what I'm noticing that we are not doing, is learning from our mistakes as a human culture. And with spirituality and how it can inform all that, if your spirituality tells you to go march on the street and that feels right and authentic to you, pursue that. If your spirituality tells you to not go marching on the street today and just stay at home and take a mental health break and watch TV, pursue that. If your spirituality tells you to get off of Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, any of the above, because you just don't want to overwhelm yourself with the constant updates about things, pursue that feeling. Everyone has a different barometer for stress and how to deal with things that are really tough right now. And some of us can't afford to block things out because our rights are at stake. I was listening to another talk, I think it was through my 9 to 5 job, I think, where they said something like, or no, maybe it was a podcast. Someone said, if I am not taking care of my energy, if I'm not recharging myself, I'm not going to have any fuel to do what needs to get done, to be an activist. And I think right now with social media and the work culture that so many of us are in, we're on this go, go, go. We got to get things done on all the time mindset. And we forget that we need to fill up our tank sometimes so that we can be on full drive when we need to be, when the moments really, really, really matter. So pursue the feeling that feels right. Pursue what feels right to you, what your spirituality informs you to do. And I think there's a lot of fear sometimes of offending people, making people feel uncomfortable. But if something feels authentic to you, it's not harming you or anyone else, and it doesn't advocate for harm, discrimination of anybody else, speak your mind. It's okay. Just speak your mind. And as psychic mediums, I'll speak for myself. As a psychic medium, I think people know my political beliefs based on what I've posted in the past, things that are still on my Instagram feed that I posted about politics and voting. And I think people generally understand my political leanings. I don't want to tell people they're stupid, they're dumb for voting a certain way. I may have my own personal feelings about that, but that's my ego. What my spirituality has taught me is that every person on this planet is in this lifetime for a reason. And for some reason, my soul decided to enter the body of a multiracial kid who grew up in Miami, Florida, born gay, and not into the body of a kid in rural Mississippi, into a white family who believes that Jim Crow laws and segregation should still be a thing. For some reason, my soul chose this body. I don't know why. Well, maybe I do know why, but I even then, I still don't know why. I have my theories. But it's so hard because on the one end, I think, okay, this person who says these things about certain communities on the internet, this person was once a little boy, a little girl, was once a child. They learned this from somewhere else. Now, and then I ask myself, how do I hold that person accountable for what they're saying, for what they are voting for, while also acknowledging their humanity? That's hard. That's hard work. My spirituality and my journey has taught me that's important to see things that way. Now, if you don't believe that, if you don't agree with me, that's okay. You do you. But as for me, my life feels manageable, and I feel like I'm able to walk through this life with some semblance of hope because I recognize the humanity in everybody, including in people who don't want to see me exist. That's just me, though. And I know people would be very upset. Some people would be very upset to hear that opinion, but it's mine, and it's what's getting me through. And it is a hard topic. It is a hard topic. So you do what you need to do. You do what you need to do. There's also a lot of comparative, or how do I put it? There is a lot of catastrophe comparison these days, or distress comparison. Let's say, for example, you say that something is really upsetting you right now and it's hard for you to deal with it. Then someone else says, "Oh, you think that's bad? Well, I mean, I'm going through this and it's way worse than your thing. So you shouldn't feel distressed at all. Why should you feel sad? I mean, I have something worse than you do." There's a lot of that going on nowadays. It's going on between countries, it's going on between communities of people. Go where the water is warm for you. Talk to people who are going to help you feel safe right now emotionally. You're upset about something, you're upset about something. That's okay. And ignore the internet when it comes to these conversations. It's not helpful. And on our soul's journeys, it's important for us, again, I'm going to keep using the word, to be authentic to ourselves and to people around us. And if people want to make you feel like your authenticity is worth less time than theirs, that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help you. And it won't help them either, because maybe what they need is to be a little bit more open-minded and hear other perspectives or hear about other struggles. It's such a fine balancing dance. I'm always struggling between recognizing my own problems in my life and recognizing that there are problems in the world that are larger than mine. And I want to do that in a way that both honors my personal struggles, that they are real struggles, without diminishing them. It's like when people used to say, or parents have sometimes said in the past to some of us, "Oh, don't be upset. There are kids who have it worse than you in other countries." It's like, well, just because someone has it worse than I do doesn't mean that my struggle is not a mental health issue, for example. But it's a balancing act. I tell some folks in my own community that I have some guy problems, like or when I've had some guy problems in my dating life. It's like I'm annoyed with this. I'm really upset about it, but I'm trying to remind myself I'm very lucky to have the life I have. The fact that dating is the worst problem I have right now just shows how much privilege I've got. And so when I say that out loud, it can come across as Juan is going to ignore all his personal problems because there are bigger problems in the world. No, it's just putting things into perspective. So whatever that looks like for you, whatever it means for you, do what you got to do to put things into perspective for yourself. And just remember that you have a spirit team behind you. You have a spirit team surrounding you, a spirit team that wants to see you succeed in your personal life. I believe a spirit team, a spiritual realm that wants to see humanity succeed, that wants to see humanity evolve and grow. And I believe that we are here to help humanity do that. Not just us. I'm not calling us plebeians or whatever, plebeians, Arturians, star seeds, seeds of whatever. That's not what I mean. I believe all human beings are capable of creating change. And those of us who are curious enough about change and who want to try and make it happen for a better world, Spirit wants us to answer that call. And so those of us who have heard the call and have decided to be curious enough to go after it, that's what we're here for. But I do believe that everybody has access to that call. It's just some of us, maybe we're just more open to it. We're more curious about what the world can be like if we just made these changes, if we just treated each other better, if we just lived and let live. If feel like I'm all over the place as per usual, and I do want to work on making these solo episodes much shorter, so I'm going to end it there. But just know that if you are really struggling with how to deal with all the headlines, deal with the news, or maybe this is happening really close to home for you. My love and my heart is going out to my listeners who are in Los Angeles and Southern California. There is just so much. There's so much disappointing news, and it's not just in California. It's across the United States. There are so many sad stories going on right now. So let's start with ourselves. Let's be the change. I vote. When I say vote, I mean not politically. I opt in. I'll put it this way. I opt in to live with as much love, with as much of a heart-forward perspective, the best way I can, recognizing everybody's humanity, and also holding people and myself accountable. It's hard, but it's worth it. All the things that are worth it are not always easy, right? So with that, I leave you and I send you so much love. Take care of yourself the way that you need to right now, and I will see you on the next episode. Follow the podcast and please leave a review. If you want me to talk about a specific subject on the podcast or you have a question for the podcast, go to juanfranciscospirit.com and go to my contact page and submit that question.